who you hire or who you hire. You want to know why this country is such a dumpster fire right now? You want to know why the standards and goals that we established that we've lived by for like 200 years have just gone out the window? Because of people like this. I give you Tyler Cherry, nice name, by the way, the new White House Associate Communications Director. Ladies and gentlemen, last week, this man was elevated to a position of power in the White House. I have just two questions here. One, do you at home want your national message choreographed by that guy? And two, why was this person hired at all? And this is my litmus test with basically any employee of the government. Why was this guy the best candidate for this job, Joe Biden? I mean, same question. Why was Sam Brinton the best candidate to manage nuclear waste for the United States of America before he was found to be stealing women's luggage out of airports? Why was Rachel Levine the best person suited for his, not her, his role in health? Considering while the Pennsylvania governor was like cramming people, elderly COVID-positive patients into nursing homes during COVID, this guy, Levine, pulled his mother out of one of those nursing homes. The same could be said about Karine Jean-Pierre, who hasn't answered a single question honestly in like her entire tenure. Are these the people that Joe Biden and his entire administration were talking about when they said this?
There was sort of okay, the adults are back in the room.
Yeah.
Simply put, the adults are back in the room.
It's to show that the adults are back in the room.
Right. This is my overarching problem with the government. There is no meritocracy left. And it's just this culture of existence and not achievement. This has never been more profound. And I said this back then, and it was cited in a 2011 article in The Atlantic called "Why Our Best Officers Are Leaving." They were talking about the military, saying, quote, "is nearly blind to merit. Performance evaluations emphasize a zero-defect mentality, meaning that risk avoidance trickles down the chain of command. Promotions can be anticipated almost to the day, regardless of an officer's competence." And that goes for the rest of the federal and even state governments, too. If this is happening in the U.S. military back in 2011, imagine the level at which it's happening now when lives are at stake. And this new White House guy is a perfect example. There's not one person on this earth that can convince me that Tyler Cherry is the best man for that job. There just isn't. What was the benefit in hiring this guy? Let's look at his resume. Well, he spent 3.5 years at the Department of Interior since beginning of the Biden administration. Before that, he worked for the Arizona Democrat Party for 4 months. That's a really good track record there. Before that, he worked at SKD Knickerbocker. That's a political communication firm which, according to their website, states, "Our public affairs experts understand the intersection of press, politics, and policy. We help you communicate meaningfully to motivate your audiences." That sounds like a whole bunch of hogwash and nothing speak. I see why the government hired him. Folks, I've worked in political communications for greater than 10 years now, and let me tell you, it is the lowest bar in employment requirements outside of the federal government. I can tell you from personal experience, I've ran for Congress, I've ran campaigns, that political communications are, for the most part, there are some good ones out there, and one of them is going to join me in a minute, but a bunch of people who couldn't ever run for office themselves, but they're advising those who do. I mean, this seems pretty ridiculous, right? Would you hire someone to teach you how to weld who's never welded before? No. But before that, who did Tyler Cherry work for? Yeah, none other than Media Matters. The same Media Matters that pays someone to sit in their basement and watch this show so they can try to find one mistake to write an article about it. Exhibit A, me. That's how unthorough they are, by the way. They're so bad at their job. They just simply put a video up of me and they said it was bad. But there's another reason why Media Matters caught my attention. When I saw it on his resume, and this is deeply personal to me, and I'll explain why in just a second, but let's first look back at what Tyler's past tweets were. Police equals slave patrols. Voter IDs equal poll taxes. Abolish ICE. Cheersing in bars to ending the occupation of Palestine. Not so great, right? So bad, in fact, that he was forced to issue a non-apology. I guess you couldn't even call it an apology. On Sunday, he posted this on X. "Past social media posts from when I was younger do not reflect my current views, period." So, all right. Well, that's it. All should be forgiven, right? We should just move on and forget all about it. Oh, really? This is interesting because the same Media Matters did not afford me that courtesy when they went back 10 years on my timeline history to find something that I said that when I came back from war and when I was working for the Trump administration years later. But that's fair game, right? Because I'm a Republican. Again, if Democrats didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. And you wonder why this country has problems. Look at the two administrations here. Donald Trump, okay, who did he have? He had like Steve Mnuchin, executive from Goldman Sachs. He had Rex Tillerson, the CEO of Exxon. He had General Mattis, who was responsible for conducting the Battle of Fallujah, probably the last real battle America ever won. I mean, that list goes on and on. Trump's cabinet was composed of doers, people who actually did things in life with deliverables, something that they can point to and say, I did that. And who does Biden have? I mean, shocker that the economy is in the toilet, considering the majority of a cabinet right here, zero business experience whatsoever. Pete Buttigieg couldn't fix a pothole when he was mayor, yet now he's in charge of the transportation department because he likes choo-choo trains. Lloyd Austin was responsible for both the rise of ISIS in Iraq, because he oversaw the pullout in Iraq, and the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. And people are still surprised why. Biden's energy secretary, Jennifer Granholm, has exactly no experience in the energy sector. And this is why they're always touting that they're changing the narrative, because they can't actually achieve anything because they've never had to.
I see a change. I think things are changing. I think that since Transgender Day of Visibility and now the momentum we've developed at Pride, I think that the conversation is changing. I think the narrative is changing, focusing on these vulnerable youth and their families and their doctors. And I think with Pride Month, just finishing up this week, that we are going to continue to change that narrative and continue to make progress. That's why I've said this should be a summer of Pride. We should have Pride all summer.
No, thanks. I mean, and change is an interesting synonym for destroying our country. And how would they, how are they doing this? How are they changing that narrative? This is how. They're sending FBI agents to the homes of a doctor or any whistleblower and anyone who dares to say out loud that it's bad to trans your kids. They're intimidating them with the FBI. This is what happens when you elect somebody because they claim to have experience in D.C. You see what I'm putting down right now? You'll get more of this in a second term, mark my words. This administration has employed people who the outside world deems completely unemployable because in Washington, D.C., action constitutes achievement, not actual achievement. The incestuous nature that D.C. trades on and favors and backdoor deep swamp deals that our tax dollars fund, by the way, that is what you get when you elect someone with, quote, experience like Joe Biden. You want results? Elect the guy who changed the New York City skyline.